I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief, coming to you a little bit earlier today before we head off into the weekend. And as always, we are brought to you by Lay of the Land, bringing you those top stories every Monday to Thursday. So let's take a look at those headlines dominating the news here in Israel. And we begin with a headline that originates actually from the New York Times. The publication has published an article that claims that Israeli officials told US officials that Israel claims responsibility for the assassination earlier this week of Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps Colonel Khudayeh. Khudayeh was killed when two men on motorbikes approached the car where he was sat in and fired 5 bullets into his body. At his funeral, chants of death to Israel and death to her allies were heard, and Iran has threatened reprisals. Meanwhile, it is believed that Khudayeh is the mastermind who has planned many attacks on Israeli businessmen and civilians abroad, as recent as an attempt on an Israeli businessman in Cyprus earlier this year. Meanwhile, the Iranian military have also reported an explosion at a research facility in Perchin earlier today. In other news, Israel's President Isaac Herzog has addressed world leaders at the World Economic Forum in Davos. He spoke about his vision for a renewable and sustainable Middle East with a focus on water, on health and food security. The Middle East is one of the most hard-hit areas in the world by the effects of climate change. And the president also spoke about how the Abraham Accords and normalizing with other Arab nations is on the cards and how we can all work together to ensure a better Middle East. Meanwhile, the president also took questions from attendees at the forum following the CNN report that accuses Israel of deliberately targeting and killing Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. The president responded by saying, "Don't believe fake facts on the news, rather take the time to study the actual facts." And Lay of the Land and the Israel Brief has been bringing you significant coverage of the killing of Abu Akleh. So if there is any information you are looking for, please have a look through our archived articles as well as news broadcasts. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah has threatened Israel over the proposed flag march to take place in Jerusalem on Sunday. Now, this flag march celebrates the reunification of Jerusalem in 1967 and is a very, very peaceful event. The route of the flag march will start around Damascus Gate and wind its way through the Old City to the plaza in front of the Wailing Wall or Kotel. Some 3,000 police are expected to be deployed in and around the city to maintain the peace. Now, Nasrallah has threatened Israel, saying that if marchers go anywhere near the Al-Aqsa Mosque or Christian sites, if they aggress, those are his words, not mine, then the region will explode. We just want to remind Nasrallah that not only does the march not go anywhere near the Al-Aqsa, but Israel respects the right and the plurality of all religions and their freedom of worship here in Israel. And our final story, we keep telling you how many people are coming to visit us this year to perform. We've just had Maroon 5 selling out to capacity crowds and falling in love with Israel. In fact, they vowed to come back here 1,000 times. We can expect Deep Purple imminently and 50 Cent at the beginning of July. But also joining rapper 50 Cent is rapper Tyga. He will be playing at the Forum in Beersheba one night only on July the 12th. So if you're looking to rock or rap this summer, Israel is the place to be. Not great news for BDS, but hey, that's not our problem. So that brings us to the end of today's edition of the Israel Brief and all of this week's editions of the Israel Brief. But don't forget, if you're looking to recap your news, it is in our weekly newsletter. Contact us through our website if you want to subscribe. It's also up on our social media. Now, where do you want to find us? I hear you say, well, I'll tell you. You can find our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook community is at Lartle Site. You can join our community by liking us, following us, sharing our content. Super appreciated when you do that. If you want to help us in the battle to get Israel's side of the story out to the masses, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Israel Brief. And of course, we're on Twitter at Lay of the Land 5. So I just want to wish you on behalf of the team and I a safe, a happy and a peaceful weekend. Shabbat Shalom. And we will see you again on Monday when we bring you those top stories making headlines right here in Israel.